A bit more detail and hopefully represent the eyes. I do recommend that you don't just focus on one area when you're doing a portrait, but like Cézanne says, that you hold your painting, your drawing holds hands and comes up together. But for the purposes of this, it's an eye demonstration. I'm just going to do an eye, so I will mostly focus on the eye area here. And of course, remember to breathe. It's very important. Okay, so I've got a bit of charcoal. I'm just gonna. Sometimes, in order to place the position of the eye, you need to further establish things around it. Yeah, and as I say, I would recommend that you keep it all moving. But just now, let's focus on the eye. Okay, so when I go to explain an eye, what I would recommend doing, rather than see it as an eye, just look at the shape of the skin first between the eyebrow and the eyelid, where the eyelid meets the eye socket. And then there's a parallel line of where the eyelashes meet. Where the eyelashes are parallel to this line here, creating a triangle of space in between this area here is more like a triangle, isn't it? The area. And actually I could use some of that lighter colour. It's a grey. I could use that in here too, where it needs being a little bit lighter. So I've got this direction of the eyelid, and now I'm aiming to explain this direction, which is shorter and steeper. And if I was to continue that line, it will cut through the nostril over there, so I know it'll be roughly there. And the inner corner of Andy's eye is a little bit lower than the outer corner, significantly lower actually. That's really nice, having a lower inner corner. You're allowed to smile, Andy. Just don't wrinkle the eyes too much. Okay, so there's a dark that I could establish more fully. So I'm going to get, this is a charcoal, no, it's compressed charcoal, so it's darker. So do you see how it allows me to kind of make a darker mark? At least it should do. It's kind of doing that. Do you know what? I'm going to use the ink, a neat ink with the paper towel. I think might do the trick there. So I'm going to make the paper towel into a decent drawing tool, so it allows me to do that kind of a thing. And I'm going to use it to explain the dark and the eyebrow in this direction. That's all. And I'm going to go back to the willow charcoal to find the shape of the iris as it meets the upper lid. It's cut off by the upper lid and it's barely touching the lower lid. And of course there's more, when you're drawing the iris itself, you might want to look more at the shapes of the whites of the eye than the actual shape of the iris. And I often find if you half close your eyes, it's as though there's a shadow overhanging. The lid is overhanging, the shadow of the eyelid is cast onto the iris. And even if you don't really see it, it's often quite a helpful thing to create a bit of depth, to give some depth of tone to the upper half of the iris. Kind of struggling to get tone in here, but one of the ways of explaining the dark is to reveal the light more fully. So I think I'm going to do that with the white chalk here. Now the white of the eye isn't that white, but this white chalk isn't that white either. So I think it's okay. Another area that's really good to notice is the upper surface of the lower lid, which reads as a kind of a step into the eye area. So capturing that little bit of light there is quite helpful. And anywhere else that you can see there being light. So just around here, identify where the iris stops and the white of the eye starts. A little bit of light there, or up there. Maybe there's a little light bit here. And I could also put some more light onto the lid itself. This isn't white now, it's grey. And it's okay. And of course you're still standing back regularly. I'm going to re-establish the dark of the eyelashes. I'm kind of finding the socket, but we want it to read as though it's sinking in. So with my eyes half closed, I want to deepen some of the light I put on there first. And maybe there's a bit of dark coming up to meet the upper surface of the lower lid. And also the lashes are quite dark there below that light. A lot of this is to do with the fine tuning, you know. And in the end you mightn't have much of the drawing left, but there'll be enough to allow it to read as an eye in this face, you know. Yeah. Going for the direction of there's 2 directions to the upper lid, but there's also 2 directions to the lower lid. One is pretty horizontal for most of the way into the corner, and then there's a steeper slope here. And all the time you're steadying yourself and fully focusing, and the out breath is a really helpful way of steadying yourself to let that focus happen. Okay, I think I'm going to stop there. It looks pretty dreadful, but at least I did the points that let's see. Yeah, so just to recap, actually, finding the 2 directions of the eyebrow, really helpful, and then finding the shape of the skin between the eyebrow and the lid where it meets the socket of the eye. Then finding the parallel lines, so often parallel the line there of the eyelashes. And then there's there's the steeper slope in here to the corner, 2 directions to the lower lid as well, the horizontal, and then the steeper slope up here. And then finding that little bit of light that sits on the upper surface of the lower lid. I think that's more of an important light than, say, the whites of the eyes are. And then there's a little catch light in the iris itself. And lastly, I would say to observe the shapes of the shadows in the area around the eye, because whatever you do out here is going to inform the tones within the eye area as well. And to look at the shape of the whites of the eye rather than the iris as a way of explaining the eye. Well, it looks okay on camera. Alright, good. So that's the end.